Street vendors are a big part of Southern California culture, but as ICE raids ramp up in LA, some are scared to go to work.
Hundreds gathered in front of the ICE office to stand with the people protesting in LA.
If some of us could be snatched off the streets without a warrant, based only on suspicion or skin color, then none of us are safe.
All power to the people. Feel tough with your assault rifles and your sticks? You should be standing here with us.
Stories anti-Trump protests taking place across the country today after a tumultuous week, to say the least.
You're going to leave terrified that tomorrow you're going to leave your wife and keys, the apartment, your car that you work for 20 years because you're illegal and they arrest you and they take you. That's kind of psychological impairment.
Welcome to the first in a series of videos that I'm calling Context. These videos are going to be deeper looks into fandom events, conventions, really anything that I feel like I want to talk about that might not fit my normal vlog content. For all my videos in the context category, including this one, I'll be doing all my own research. I'll link all my sources in the description below. But I encourage you to do your own independent research. You know, I'm not really an expert in any of these things, and this is all in my little bubble of context that I have. But with that disclaimer out of the way, let's get into something that I think it's really important to talk about. Fanime 2025 was incredible. From the atmosphere, the cosplay, the spontaneous bus karaoke, to that deep joy that really only Fanime brings, this convention is and continues to be my favorite convention of all time, like not even a contest. But with that being said, this year, as I went through the convention, even among all the celebration, among all the good vibes, there was something missing. And I think it's important that we talk about it. Like I said earlier, not an expert. I will merely be showing you a glimpse and a small ripple of a much bigger problem. But I think, you know, with this small platform that I've built and with the people who are watching, this is a conversation worth having. But this is going to be kind of a heavy topic. So if you're not really in the place for it, if you don't really want to engage with this kind of content, you know, take care of yourself. Feel free to click off. This just isn't something I had seen people talking about, and I think this is something that needs to be discussed. So let's get into it. Fanime is an annual 4-day convention held during May in San Jose, California, usually over Memorial Day weekend. Fanime's slogan is by the fans, for the fans, and with the focus on cosplay, artist alleys, panels, and attendee experience, this convention is really one of a kind and something special. If you want to learn more about this convention, or maybe just will need a palate cleanser after this video, you can check out the vlog I have on Fanime. It's going to give you a little bit better of an idea of what this convention is like. But if you've ever been to Fanime, you'll know what I mean when I say that there is a huge part of this convention that happens outside of the convention halls. If you've ever been to Fanime, you know what I mean when I say the vendors outside are part of the con experience. The smell of hot dogs, elote, the big containers of agua frescas, the warmth and welcome of the small stands really bring life into this convention. But this year, on the streets that are usually filled with vendors, parents, children, families, this year the streets were empty. The vendors were gone. Every last one. For years at Fanime, these vendors have helped Fanime feel like San Jose. They are fundamental to the convention. They've been a living, breathing part of the con's culture. Mostly families of all ages, working long hours under the sun to serve us delicious, often homemade food and affordable options when convention center food just isn't it. And they're always really excited to talk to you about the cosplay you're wearing, the things you're doing, their favorite animes. It's another group and another part of our convention community. This year, instead of the scent of bacon-wrapped hot dogs and traditionally prepared food, there was silence. No families, no vendors, just a single police car. It hit hard, and it lingered throughout the convention. While I was hanging out in the courtyard, I had multiple people approach me asking where the hot dog vendors were, looking for that quintessential part of con. Everyone seemed very confused as to why they were not there. There were some jokes and memes going around. I think I have a clip of some sort of art that I saw. If I had to assume, someone prepared this art for Fanime, and then when it was no longer a relevant meme, they wrote that little piece in. And it was kind of like a joke, like, oh no, the hot dog vendors aren't here. And I think a lot of people were stuck on the concept of, oh shoot, where's our affordable food option? I don't think, at least at the time, the majority of the attendees really understood the implications of this vital piece of the convention being missing. Just a quick note, this video might be out of date sooner rather than later. This was filmed on 6/12, and things have been escalating rapidly. Again, disclaimer, this is my own speculation. I can't really know for certain, but the timing is impossible to ignore. With the recent ICE crackdowns and the growing pressure on potentially undocumented immigrants, especially of Hispanic or Mexican descent, it's hard not to wonder if fear might have played a role. For folks just trying to survive and support their families, showing up might have felt too dangerous. Or, even worse, they might not have been in America anymore to show up. Lately, we've been seeing this sort of thing far beyond San Jose. It's happening in Los Angeles, right on the streets. On June 6, federal ICE and DHS agents carried out coordinated raids in LA, targeting places like Home Depot, parking lots in Westlake, garment shops in the Fashion District, and food wholesalers in Paramount. By the next day, over 100 people had been arrested. This includes families, this includes day laborers, and even David Huerta, the president of California's SEIU union, who was hospitalized during his arrests. The response has been immediate, and I'm sure that you've seen it on the news. Protests, tear gas, rubber bullets, flashbangs, and hundreds more arrested or injured. More than 2,000 National Guard troops were said to be deployed to federal buildings in downtown LA, and it's escalating even as I write this script. As I was doing this research, I saw that Marines were being deployed. Marines being deployed against the American public who are protesting members of their community being ripped away, profiled, and the violation of our constitutional First, Fourth, Fifth, and 10th Amendment rights. It's not just immigration enforcement. It's criminalization of public life. It's the policing of who gets to exist in shared spaces. People are being detained without due process. Rights are being violated. In some areas, journalists were actively, and in my opinion, intentionally shot with rubber bullets while reporting. This is happening now. Not in history books, not somewhere else, right now, right here. And as I record this video, we are staring down the face of the weekend, June 14th, where there will be a large parade in DC, and there are national protests planned all over the country. Please, if you're attending protests, keep yourself safe. I don't really know how that's gonna play out. What I do know is that in Los Angeles County alone, over 25% of residents are foreign-born. Statewide, there are more than 50,000 street vendors in California, with about 10,000 of them running mobile food carts. Together, they contribute over $500 million to local economies every year. When we talk about immigrants in America, we need to move beyond the fear and start talking about the facts. And to be completely honest with you, I do not think that someone can be illegal in stolen land, but I'm going to be offering some facts that kind of address a lot of the arguments that I've seen from people who are against immigration. Immigrants pay over $90 billion in taxes every year, including federal, state, and local. Even undocumented immigrants who can't legally file for many benefits still paid $96.7 billion in federal, state, and local taxes in 2022. Many use individual taxpayer identification numbers to legally pay taxes, despite not being eligible for many governmental aid programs. Immigrants make up nearly 18% of the US labor force, despite only being about 14% of the population. Immigrants fill essential jobs in agriculture, with more than 73% of farm workers being immigrants, construction, food, healthcare, elder and child care support, and of course, street vending and small-scale entrepreneurship. Without immigrants, these industries, the backbone of daily life, would falter. It's a common myth that undocumented immigrants don't pay taxes or take more than they give. In reality, they pay into social services and Medicare, often without being able to claim benefits. In fact, undocumented workers contributed over $13 billion to Social Security in a single year, without being able to receive a dime of it later. The Social Security Administration has literally been quoted saying, without undocumented immigration contributions, the system would be in much worse shape. The vendors that used to line the streets at Fanime, the ones missing this year, are part of this reality. They are small business owners, family breadwinners, taxpayers. That's not a niche. That's not a side hustle. That's the backbone of many neighborhoods, many communities, and many families. No one is illegal on stolen land. I don't think a person needs to prove their financial value to be allowed on American soil. But I know that these are the arguments being made, and they're simply not factual. They're based in fear, they're based in misinformation, and honestly, they're based in xenophobia. There are often families, workers, immigrants who have spent decades building lives here. Many are undocumented, meaning that they live and work under constant threat, oftentimes for the betterment of their families. And with intensified ICE activity across California, they are now having to scale back to weekends or stopping entirely. Some vendors are simply too scared to show up, which means they're not working. They're not able to support their family. They're not able to continue their livelihood. Their lives are being disrupted out of fear of detainment. And it's not just illegal immigrants. ICE has been seen detaining anyone they think might fit that profile. That is the definition of racial profiling. Imagine if this was your family. And if it is, I am so sorry. If this is your situation, I'm listing resources below to help. I'm sure a lot of people have done independent research. Also reach out if you need help. I'll do everything that I can. Imagine if your family couldn't go outside out of fear of deportation, out of fear of being separated. Imagine your family not being able to show up, not because they don't want to, but because the police might be waiting outside. Imagine your neighbor disappears from their corner and no one knows why. That's what's happening here. Through all of this, I keep thinking of a passage from Anne Frank's diary that feels painfully close today. And I'm sure if you're following this at all, you've seen this quote before. Terrible things are happening outside. At any time of day or night, poor, helpless people are being dragged out of their homes. Families are torn apart. Men, women, and children are separated. Children come home from school to find their parents gone. Women come home from shopping to find their houses sealed, their families gone. It's horrifying to read, and it should be. The parallels between these two situations are undeniable. What's even more horrifying is how familiar this sounds in 2025. This isn't just about LA. This isn't just about San Jose. This isn't just about California. This is happening in Chicago, in Texas, in neighborhoods all across the country. Across Texas and beyond, ICE has cracked down hard, sometimes even picking people up from inside immigration courts. In San Antonio, hundreds marched downtown after agents arrested people during scheduled court appearances. Protests denounced these raids as blatant violations of due process and human rights. There is a narrative being pushed that illegal immigrants are scary, are violent, are gang members and drug pushers, but these ICE agents showed up to the courts where people were doing what they were supposed to be doing, and they picked them up and punished them for that. And it's not just the border states. In Michigan, local police, like the Taylor PD, have formal agreements with ICE, allowing them to act as immigration agents under the 287G program. In Florida, construction sites near universities were raided. In Tallahassee, over 100 undocumented construction workers were taken to detention centers, separated from their families, and many still haven't heard from them. There's been no contact. In New York, street food vendors, 96% of them immigrants, have been so afraid they've moved their businesses indoors or stopped entirely, losing 70% or more of their income just to keep from being picked up by ICE. In Martha's Vineyard, after Memorial Day, at least 40 people were detained, some on their way to work. Schools and local services were interrupted. ICE raided kindergartens. They raided kindergarten graduations, knowing that parents would be showing up for their children.
Our neighboring school, I think it's Grata, having their graduation. And there's helicopters in the sky, predominantly Hispanic. Parents had to run out because they don't have papers, and they had to leave their kids. What type of shit is this, yo? And then kids are freaking grabbing teachers and crying on their leg because they don't know if they're about to see their parents when they get home. What the fuck is this?
These are not isolated incidents. They are a wave hitting American streets. Farmers, construction workers, vendors, families dragged out of their homes, stripped of their jobs, pulled out of their cars, separated from their children. The scale is national and the fear is universal. These national patterns help explain what might have shaped what happened at Fanime. Small food vendors, just like the ones at Fanime, are being pushed out of public spaces. They're barred from community life. It's never just about the street food. It was cultural connection, economic livelihood, shared space, and it's disappearing across America. In the convention spaces, there's a lot of conversation about how cosplay is for everyone and how cons are safe spaces for all kinds of people. That has to include the people who helped build the spaces, even if they weren't wearing badges. These vendors are part of our traditions, and they deserve safety, respect, recognition, and protection. I'm not here to make a big political speech. I'm just someone who missed seeing their community whole. I hope Fanime continues to grow with heart, and that next year, the smells, the smiles, the families return to the sidewalks too. Because con culture is made by everyone, and everyone deserves a place at that table. So what can we actually do? I have many resources listed below in the description. Finding local grassroots organizations who are hitting the streets, providing protection, reaching out to your neighbors, knowing how to identify ICE agents. All of this could be life and liberty saving knowledge. The biggest thing that we can do is look out for each other. Be someone others can trust. Speak up when it's safe. Protect each other. Attend rallies in your community, peacefully protest, do whatever you need to do so that your voice can be heard and we can stand up in the face of our civil liberties being violated. Every individual can make a difference. Protect each other. Learn what to do if you see someone being deported. Stay in good communication and stay informed. Do your research. Don't turn away from this. This isn't something we can ignore. And I know in the giant scheme of things, Fanime and one cosplayer's take on it is very small. But this is just a tiny piece of something much bigger and much more sinister. Please, let's start the conversation. Let's acknowledge the way that current administration is impacting our communities, our lives, and the people around us. With that being said, if you've made it to this point, thank you so much for watching. If this resonates with you, check out the resources below. Remember how wonderful it is that nobody need wait a single moment before starting to improve the world. Even small acts of kindness, support, protection can matter. Share your memories, your thoughts, and let's keep the conversation going with kindness and community. Thanks, everyone. On June 14th, 2025, the same day Trump held a poorly attended military parade, Americans in every state took to the streets. They marched in protest of ICE, in protest of Trump and the current administration, and in defense of their rights. The No Kings protests were historic. Estimated turnout ranges from 4 to 6 million, with some claims reaching as high as 13 million. Even at the more conservative estimate of 5 million attendees, it stands as one of the largest single-day anti-presidential protests in U.S. history, especially with all 50 states participating. Across the country, protests were largely peaceful but charged with urgency. Demonstrators carried signs reading "No Kings," waved inverted American flags, and gathered outside courthouses, ICE facilities, and federal buildings. In cities like Los Angeles and Portland, confrontation with police escalated into tear gas and rubber bullets. In Salt Lake City, a tragic shooting involving a protester safety volunteer left 2 dead. Protesters were also injured by drivers attempting to ram through crowds in California, Georgia, and Virginia. Despite these horrible moments of violence, the day stood out for its overwhelming unity. With more than 2,000 marches across all 50 states, there was a clear message. Americans reject authoritarianism. Americans reject the violations of our rights. We fight to protect our most vulnerable communities. This country was built by immigrants and by those brave enough to stand up and challenge unjust power. And as much as some may try to erase that truth, the message of this weekend rang loud and clear. We stand united as a community to protect all members of it. Thank you again for watching. And let's make sure we all protect each other.